The leaders, who, for many years, were at the head of French armies, have formed a government. This government, alleging our armies to be undone, agreed with the enemy to stop fighting. Of course, we were subdued by the mechanical ground and air forces of the enemy, infinitely more than their number. It was the tanks, the airplanes, the tactics of the Germans which made us retreat. It was the tanks, the airplanes, the tactics of the Germans that surprised our leaders to the point to bring them there where they are today. But has the last word been said? Must hope disappear? Is defeat final? No. Believe me, I speak to you with full knowledge of the facts and tell you that nothing is lost for France. The same means that overcame us can bring us to a day of victory. For France is not alone. She is not alone. She is not alone. She has a vast empire behind her. She can align with the British Empire that holds the sea and continues to the fight. She can, like England, use without limit the immense industry of the United States. This war is not limited to the unfortunate territory of our country. This war is not finished by the Battle of France. This war is a worldwide war. All the faults, all the delays, all the suffering do not prevent there to be, in the world, all the necessary means to one day crush our enemies. Vanquished today by mechanical force, we will be able to overcome in the future a superior mechanical force. The destiny of the world is here. I, General de Gaulle, currently in London, invite the officers and the French soldiers who are located in British territory, or who would come there, with their weapons or without their weapons. I invite the engineers and the special workers of armament industries who are located in British territory, or who would come there, to put themselves in contact with me. Whatever happens, the flame of the French resistance must not be extinguished and will not be extinguished. Tomorrow, as today, I will speak on Radio London. This appeal by Charles de Gaulle on the 18th of June 1940 was the spark of what would become the Free French Army. In September of 1939, France joined the war with Britain. A small French advance into the Saar region of Germany quickly pulled out as winter came. Fighting began in spring the next year in Norway and Denmark. French and British troops fought very briefly in Norway, but got there too late because by the time they got there, the country was already in German control. The German advance. Germany's plan was to strike up north, leading the Allies up, quickly overrunning and making the Netherlands surrender on the 15th of May, then rushing their main force through the heavily forested Ardennes, since the Allies deemed this area impossible to get a large army through. So when the Germans punched their main force through the Ardennes, the Allies were not able to field any counterattack. The Allies were squeezed up against the northern Belgium and northern France port cities of Boulogne, Calais, Dunkirk and Ostend, where some of them were able to escape across the English Channel to Great Britain, but many were not. France falls. German forces continued pushing through the French heartland, taking the Maginot Line forces one by one, but some forts even held out until July. But on the 14th of June, Paris fell and was captured by German forces, and 8 days later, on the 22nd of June, France signed an armistice with Germany. Aftermath. The conditions of the armistice allowed most of the southern part of France to remain under French civil administration. Put apart from also retaining her colonies in Africa, France had become a puppet state of Germany. After Charles de Gaulle's appeal of 18 June on Radio London for a French continuation of the war against Germany, 10 days later, Charles de Gaulle was recognized as the leader of Free France. Little by little, French people from Britain's countryside, soldiers who had fled from France, and naval units who were still at sea came to Charles de Gaulle's aid. African colonial territories owned by France then started picking sides, and most chose to rally behind Charles de Gaulle's Free France. Later on, so did France's smaller colonies in India and the Pacific. In 1941, Free French British-led forces went on an operation against Italian forces in northeastern Africa. In 1942, an underground anti-Nazi resistance movement had started in France. A lot of time was spent trying to unify all of these mini Free French movements in France under Charles de Gaulle. Even after sending an emissary to France, this did take a long time, and many of them did not rally behind him. But they did work with him. A successful Anglo-American invasion of northwestern Africa in 1942 saw most of the troops that were loyal to Vichy France defect to Charles de Gaulle's aid. Over 100,000 Free French forces had participated in Allied landings in Italy in 1943, and by the time the landings in Normandy and other beaches in northern France rolled around, the Free French forces had amassed to around 300,000 regular troops. Consequences of the resistance. Unfortunately, I was not able to find a specific number on both sides of how many people died on German and French sides in France, but for France, I was able to find that approximately over 200,000 men died from military causes, approximately almost 400,000 civilian deaths due to military activity and crimes against humanity. On the German side, approximately around 60,000 soldiers died in France in World War II, most being in the Battle of France, little less in the Normandy campaign, and a very small amount due to Free French efforts. But the Free French resistance didn't just try to kill such harmed Germans, since that would mean much more harsh repression and crimes against the French civilians, members of the resistance or not. They turned to the railroads and factories that France had an abundance of. That way they wouldn't get the force of the German oppression on everyone living around those areas as much of the time. In conclusion, the effectiveness of the Free French forces during World War II should not ever be overshadowed, as the Allies may not have been able to accomplish as much as they could during the war without the Free French forces still fighting on alongside the Brits and inside France itself. Thank you so much for watching.